Hey everyone, my name is Paul. Welcome to my shop. It's been a while since I've done a sawmill video, and I'm currently working my way through a big stack of walnut logs, so let's get right to it. I got these logs from a friend of mine who's developing a piece of property, and only 2 of the 6 are straight, but today we're going to do the 2 smallest ones, and there's only really one thing to do with these bent ones, and that's turn them into slabs. Now anything shorter than about 7 feet is pretty awkward on my sawmill, so I end up just putting a piece of wood on the bed of the sawmill and screwing the piece of wood to it. Take a good chunk off the top of that, then James flips it over with the grappler on the tractor. Then I screw it back down to the bed, and then I went through this particular log on the inch scale, and I went at 2 inches, which doesn't take into account the thickness of the blade, and so it ends up being about 1 3/4 inches thick. And on this particular log, I ended up with 5 slabs. To make our time efficient with the sawmill, we just use a couple of straps to pick up the sawn log and put it in the trailer, and I will wash the sawdust off of it later and stack them. This next log had 2 significant bends in it, so I was going to have to cut one of the ends off, and of course I chose the wrong one. Although in my defense, there was quite a bit of rot in this end of the log, so it really had to go. And this log was pretty short as well, so it's the same procedure. Take a good chunk off the top, roll it over, and then again I did it on the inch scale, and these slabs are about 1 3/4 inches each, and there's 5 of them. Now normally if this log was nice and straight, I would put this crack horizontal, and then when I'm going through the wood, I would make sure that that whole crack was in one of the slabs, and then I only lose 1 slab. But because of the curve of this log, I was hoping there would be some nice figure in it because of the stress on the wood from it bending and stuff like that in the wind. So I went with the curve instead of the crack. Once everything was loaded up, I took the slabs for a ride back to my house. This is where I'll rinse off all that sawdust and see what we've got. It might seem a little counterintuitive to be rinsing off the sawdust, especially when you want these slabs to dry, but keep in mind 70 to 80% of the weight of these slabs right now is water trapped inside of them. And the sawdust is going to cause all sorts of mildew problems and slow the drying process down because it will hold that moisture against the wood. So it needs to go, and the water I'm spraying on them will be gone tomorrow. Now I'm hoping that these slabs will be ready to go into my solar kiln by the end of summer. Here we are towards the end of winter, so they'll have the rest of the winter and the spring to dry, most of the summer. And then if they're below 20% moisture content, I'll put them into my kiln. As I suspected, there's nothing stellar about these particular slabs. There's cracks in it, there's quite a bit of rot, and of course, the most interesting figure is right where I cut the end of the log off. But that's also where most of the rot is as well. Once everything was rinsed off, it was back into the trailer for that log, and then the other one could come out and I'll rinse that one off as well. This log did have a branch on it that I had to cut off so it would fit on the mill, so I knew I'd have some pretty good compression figure on some of these slabs. And here's where you can see some of that nice compression figuring where that limb was cut off. I always imagine that slabs like these are going to end up as coffee tables or benches, something like that, something that has a bit of visual interest in the surface of it. But I do end up selling a lot of slabs like these to people who do small things, and they cut a lot of individual little projects out of one of these slabs. And once my assistant got home, it was time to stack and sticker these logs. And just in time too, because we got some snow the next day, although I did have to head out and grab some blocks to put on top of the stack to add as weight. And of course there was a gratuitous shot here of Bert and Ernie. Thanks for watching everyone, we'll see you next time.